having a small business when you run it yourself can be quite isolating, and I think it's important to be able to connect, talk about any problems that you might need to address.
Good evening, Australia. Welcome to the show. Tough Times Never Last with Michael Kuzilny. Hope you had a great week. And if you're suffering at the moment, going through some difficult issues, always remember everything's impermanent. All the good things never last. And whatever you're going through won't last either. You know, there's always, when we think about the landscape of our lives and the difficult times we've gone through, we think they're going to last forever, don't we? We think, oh my God, it's always going to be like this. But, you know, we look back, we think, wow. It's sometimes God or the universe nudging us in a different direction. We've got a lovely lady on the couch tonight, Holly. She's very successful, very vibrant. At one stage, though, she said she went so rock bottom that she wanted to take her life. Now, that's amazing, Holly, because I see you and you're happy and bubbly. But tell me right at the start about how you hit rock bottom, and did you just want to end your life?
I guess when things are going well, seemingly well to others or to the outside world, there can be a lot of pressure on you, or you can feel that there's a lot of pressure on you. So I felt when my business was doing its best, when I was living in Sydney and I was doing more acting work and I felt successful where I was living, I also was ticking the boxes, so to speak. But something that I didn't have were my real friends and family around me. And I take that as something very important to take away in terms of going through those tough times and how important those things are to you. And that they always must be valued almost above the other things that we deem to be successful. So with that time of pressure, I happened to have an end to a relationship where my partner didn't take it well. And with that, I was harassed, stalked. It was an ongoing stress to me. And having lived together at the time, it had meant that I didn't feel safe in my own home.
No.
Which is something that everyone should feel safe within their own.
And Holly, was it that sort of relationship that got you to hit rock bottom, or?
It was a number of things. I'd probably put it down to three things, Mike. First thing I would say is I was working a lot. It was at the peak of the fitness industry. I was working 35 to 40 hours a week, personal training. I was getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning and I was finishing my last client at 9, 10 o'clock at night. So that's always going to have its time of burnout.
Holly, I'm going to treat you like a witness in a witness box because we're going to cut straight to the chase. What were you thinking of doing when you wanted to suicide?
I was in a lot of pain. So the reason I was in a lot of pain is I sustained a back injury over that time.
I'll ask you again, what were you thinking of doing when you wanted to end your life? With pills or can you remember what went through your mind? It's a terrible time, but you're back now. But what were your thoughts? Did you really want to end your life, or?
Unfortunately, at the time, I did.
Yeah, and how did you think you were going to do it, or did you do it? Did you attempt?
Yes, I did, and that had meant that I was very lucky with the ambulance service that I had at the time.
Was it pills or?
Yes, it was. It was a large quantity of painkillers and some medication that I was on at the time, antidepressant medication, and also to get the guts up to do it, so to speak, I definitely had a lot of alcohol at the time.
Were you living by yourself at the time, Holly?
No, I wasn't, but I planned it to the point where my flatmate was not home.
Not home.
And with the back pain and with not being able to work and also not being able to train my clients due to the pain and getting in more and more debt, it just seemed to...
It all snowballed. God bless you. So, what happened? Did you actually fall asleep, or did you call the ambulance?
No, I didn't. Once I'd consumed what I knew to be a lethal amount of these painkillers and medication, I rang my sisters. I rang my little sister first, and you told her that I loved her, and I felt a weird sense of calm. And then I rang my older sister, and she sensed that something wasn't right, and I probably became more panicked because I realised the situation that I'd put myself in had become very real because there was nobody home. And she asked me more probing questions, and I did tell her what I'd done. And they lived in Melbourne, so because I'm from Melbourne, and from living in Sydney, they made the call to the ambulance. And when the ambulance arrived, I was incoherent, and apparently they'd knocked the door down to get me out. So the next time I woke up from there was in intensive care.
What year was that? How long ago?
This was in 2009.
Right. Well, I'm glad you're sitting here nice and healthy. So intensive care, and they would have done a great job too in there, would they? Yes,
it's pretty. It's pretty startling to wake up in intensive care. It's a shock, and there's a lot of things that aren't so pretty about it, and you're asked some questions that are pretty confronting about your physical state. One of them being whether you can feel parts of your body, and other questions that you have to get your head around. It's not a good experience. I wouldn't recommend it.
No.
Yeah,
it's good that you can sit here laughing about it. And, God bless you, darling. I can feel that you're you don't really feel comfortable going back to that thing. But it's so great the lessons you're going to give to the viewers on how you got out of that darkness. But we'll have a short break, and then we're going to talk about how you progressed to be so successful.
I look forward to it.
Don't go away. We'll be back shortly. Thank you very much for watching. I'm Michael Kuzilny, and we all suffer from time to time, don't we? Sometimes just a little bit, or sometimes a lot. I know I've suffered a lot, and but the beautiful thing is every time we do go through one of those tough challenges in life, it makes us stronger, and it always takes us to another direction, doesn't it? It's almost like a place you wouldn't have gone to by yourself. So it definitely makes us stronger and more resilient, and Holly's on the couch and very authentic and genuine. Went through a difficult time and then took a while to rebuild that self-esteem. Because obviously when you hit rock bottom where you think, well, I'm over life, I just, it's all built up. Then you come out of the hospital and do they then give you a psychologist to talk to, or do you meet up with them?
You do. They basically register you with a psychologist. So because I was in Sydney and I was moving back to Melbourne, my hometown, I was given a psychologist to see over time. And with that, I was rehabilitating my back, which was a big part of me being able to rehabilitate mentally, physically, emotionally, and restart my business here in Melbourne, which has taken on a new light because of the fact that with that injury I have an understanding and an education through working with other practitioners about injuries in general, and particularly working with backs and how that affects people on a day-to-day basis. Because with a back injury, unless you're in a wheelchair or you've got some sort of sign showing that you're in pain, people don't know that you're in pain. So I could be sitting here right now in pain, which I'm very thankfully not. and the other person has no idea. So it changes your personality significantly. And with that comes a lot of other emotions, and also back injuries are something that are hard to work out. And
Holly, we keep on talking about the back injury, but the most important thing about this is the mind. You keep on talking the back injury, but no, your mind hit so rock bottom.
Well, I feel the two were interjoined.
Is that what it was?
Very much so. Very much so, because when you're in physical pain, it mentally strains you as a person.
I hear
so
that.
when you can't be yourself.
Yes.
So I'm quite a bubbly, light-hearted person.
You are.
Even sitting still now is a challenge. To sit there in pain, it's very hard to describe, and only people in pain will understand that.
I get it.
So that accelerated how I felt emotionally, along with being stalked, having to move back to Melbourne.
It all builds up, and sometimes that happens, folks, doesn't it? All the pressures build up, and life's stressful enough. You know, we have 50,000 thoughts going through our minds every single day, and I meditate every day for the last 20 years, and I think that's one of the best things we can do to calm that crazy mind. You know, I think most anxiety and depression comes from turbulent mind, racing minds. But when it all builds up, then people do have breakdowns or want to do silly things. And Holly, it sounds like a great idea that you came back to Melbourne because you didn't have this right support in Sydney, and then the nurturing commenced.
Began, and yes, it was a slow process. It's being patient and knowing that your mental health has to come before anything else.
Important. And that's it, folks. We should never judge people. We should always show loving kindness towards others. Judging is one of the most, evil things, I think. We're in a very judgmental society. We criticise, we blame, but, just try, for the next month not judging people and just smiling a bit more and showing a bit of loving kindness to everybody you meet. Can you imagine if we all showed kindness to each other?
Well, you never know what anybody's going through.
No, that's right. That's exactly right.
We can't read minds, and it's lucky that we can't.
No, well, we all suffer. We could go up to anybody on the street and say, what's that one thing you're not happy about in your life? And unfortunately, sometimes people go through some really big issues, and sometimes they're not so big. But I really think that life comes with, 10,000 joys and 10,000 sorrows. It's a mixture, isn't it?
It definitely is, and that experience, which at the time was awful for a number of reasons, has now been able to turn itself around in the past 5, 6, 7 years, where my business is more gauged towards helping people with
That's
injuries.
Terrific how you do that. But Holly, what I'm really interested in, a lot of people talk about problems back in 2009, but it's not like it's all smooth sailing after that.
No, not at all.
There would have been other challenges. Tell me about the other challenges after 2009.
Definitely.
What else happened?
I think with business, a lot of the time with small business, people don't actually talk about the fact that they need to actually connect and make connections with other people in small business, because having a small business when you run it yourself can be quite isolating. And I think it's important to be able to connect, talk about any problems that you might need to address, network, make it an experience that's outside of your lounge room, gym, wherever it may be. And it takes a lot more than just perseverance to take it to a level where you've got your own space. And I'm very thankful to have my own space now. So I have my own home and my own gym space, and that allows my clients to feel that they're in an environment where they're supported, where it's private, where their needs are met without the...
That's terrific, Holly. That's terrific. Now, tell me, Holly, about... I know you're trying to veer away from the problems. I know exactly what you're doing. I know exactly what you're doing. Talking the back and the business and... We're talking about the difficult times. Relationships, Holly. Witness. You had that relationship when that bloke kept on stalking and he kept on coming around. He was obsessed because you're a beautiful and good-looking lady. Have there been other relationships?
Yes, I have experienced that previous to that.
We might talk about relationships after the next break, but relationships are difficult, and I see it all over society. People are breaking up. They're not happy, Yeah, tell me about relationships after the next break. We'll be back very shortly. Thank you very much for watching. I've got Holly in the witness box tonight, cross-examining. Holly, tell me about relationships. They don't always work, do they?
Relationships are complex, and unfortunately, if you meet someone, it takes quite a while to get to know who they really are. And I think these days we're too quick to take things to the next level, and with that, one person can feel more strongly than the other. And when you're in a position where that relationship needs to end, for whatever reason that may be, there can be things that you can come up against that aren't right. And I think it's important to be quite firm about anything that is not right.
I totally agree. And you were firm. You took out an intervention order against an ex-partner 2 years ago. So he must have been a bit of a pain in the arse?
Yeah.
What did he do?
I don't want to glorify this guy.
No.
At all.
Not at all. You wouldn't take an intervention order against him if you glorified him.
No.
It couldn't have been that good.
No. It was a long process, and I really do question our justice system.
Yeah.
Because this guy turned up to my birthday party uninvited, clearly told that he was not allowed in. I let the bouncers and the management know that he was not to be allowed in, to the point where they had his photograph. He gained access. He intimidated me. It was on camera, and there were signs of violence. I took the matter to court, which was not an easy matter to take to court because
Stressful.
these things take time. It took quite a while to get an intervention order, and eventually he was charged with assault.
On you?
Yes. Which was not a fun process.
No.
The intervention order was breached several times.
Oh.
I don't believe that the justice system take any of that seriously. I was advised not to report any of those because it would steer him on further, quote. And I eventually have moved residence since.
I see.
And so this guy doesn't know where I am. I found out later that there was a lot of things about his character that were not desirable that I did not know at the time.
Did you meet him on the internet?
No. No.
On Tinder?
No. No.
But you weren't living together?
No, luckily not.
No, that's exactly right. What I really think a problem is, Holly, people break up and they need time to repair, their minds. I just find too many people jump back into relationships. They split up with one person and they develop this codependency and straight away back on the internet sites, Tinder, this and that. I have to reconnect. I've got to be loved, especially us guys, we tend to do that, unfortunately, we can't be by ourselves, but women as well. But I think if you break up in a relationship and then jump into another one, you're both bringing baggage into that relationship and it's just going to explode. I really think it's time we have to heal ourselves, become independent human beings, even though it might take...
It's the best place to get to when you get to a point where you go, it doesn't matter externally what's happening around me.
Yeah.
But I choose to love myself first and foremost.
Yeah.
And that's really, and it might sound cheesy, and it probably is, where the healing begins and where you're going to bring in the right people in your life. And that takes time. That's not something you're in your 20s and you just know how to do. And if you do, write a book. Seriously, write a book.
That's funny. I was talking to a friend about this and he said it's a process. And he said, that's right. People can feel the energy, can't they? They can feel if you've just broken up or whether you have loved yourself back into the...
Well, you're not honouring yourself if you're going straight from the stove into the fire.
No.
You know, you really you need time to regroup, look after yourself, figure out what you actually want, learn from what's happened.
How long?
Self-soothe.
Do we need? Depends.
Depends. I mean, there's a theory that however long your relationship is, that it should be half of that time to soothe.
Interesting.
I think putting a time on it is kind of... You know, we're all different.
And Holly, what about the people who sort of, there's definite problems in the relationship, bang, it shatters, but then you know you don't want to go back, but you go back anyway, happens again and again and again.
I find that hard, and I don't mean this to sound unsympathetic.
Yeah.
I found that hard to understand because I've been in situations where I've seen shades of that and I've wanted to get out as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
And it takes time to get to know people. And
what about the partner that, Holly, I love you. Don't leave me. I'm sorry. Forgive me. You know, I'll take you business class to Hawaii and we'll have crayfish. Come back to me.
Wow, well.
Do you then...
all changes now.
Do you then say, look, do you then weigh it all up and think, okay, these are the pros, so they're the cons?
I think common sense is something that people forget about. A lot of people want to be wined and dined and being told everything's all right. And your ideal partner is not always going to tell you that everything's all right. They're sometimes going to tell you that you need to work on this or that you feel that they need to work on something else. And that's part of a friendship, and it should start with a solid friendship. It's easy to find someone to have sex with. It's easy to find someone to date, but it's quite a challenge to find someone to spend a life with.
Great advice. And you can certainly get to a situation where you love somebody, but you know they're not right for you, can't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been married and I've been in that situation, and me and my ex-husband, we are now great friends because I knew that was the right thing for us, and we wouldn't have that friendship if it wasn't for coming to that conclusion. And I'm very thankful for the friendship.
Wow, Holly, you're such a amazing life traveller. You've spoken about so many great things and inspired so many people. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You're an excellent and first-class professional. You really, really are. And thank you very much. Love and best wishes, and we'll see you next week. Good night.